I came across 2 orders. The one issued by yourself and Judge Chomi in the SCA on 8 August.
Yeah.
In the matter of Ken Joan Lindet, Eskom Holdings, SO, and Mogale City. In that matter, you dismiss the special leave to appeal. Shortly thereafter, this year, you sit in the SCA in the full court comprising of Justices Kolapen, Matlanga, Majid, Matopo, Hlanhla, and others. You sit in that bench for the same matter, and you dismiss the leave to appeal by those parties. That's a serious concern to me, I have.
Yes,
I'm worried that maybe you may not have the orders. I can give it to you. But I came across this as I'm preparing for this particular matter.
I must say that
before you
so
respond, Justice Unterhalter, if you are able to respond, even though this was not given to you in advance, it's fine. But if you are not able, because you would have needed time, then we might have to deal with it differently. I don't know, maybe let me first ask, are you able to deal with it?
I would have to look at the 2 cases and see, I'm afraid. And I'd happily come back and answer as best I can. I recall very distantly the one, but let me have a look and I'll happily respond.
Maybe let me say this.
Chief Justice?
Is it Commissioner Malema?
Yes. No, sorry to come like this. The same, this matter was brought to my attention, and I gave it to Mr. Ello yesterday because it came late. And I had hoped that this matter would have been given to the judge and to your good selves.
Yes. No, I want to address that. Ms. van Niekerk mentioned to me that there was, I think, this complaint, there was a complaint from somebody. And the question was, she sought guidance as to how it should be dealt with, because, as I understood the position, it's a complaint that came late, or comment that came late with regard to the candidate. And I said to her, because it's a complaint that came late, in terms of the decisions we took yesterday, it would not fall under the exception. So it should not be asked sent to the candidate. You will recall that the general rule we agreed upon is that if it comes late, it should not be accepted, except if it falls into an exception. And the reason why I said it doesn't fall into the exception is this, that generally speaking, I don't think that a judge would intentionally sit in a matter where a decision in which he took part or she took part would intentionally sit, because they would know that they should not sit. But what could happen is that maybe there is oversight and so on. And I said, well, also the complainant, because he is late or she is late, they can lodge a complaint with the Judicial Conduct Committee, and their complaint about Justice Unterhalter having allegedly sat in a matter in which he should not have sat can then be dealt with by that body.
Sorry, Chief Justice, this one is not a complaint. I'm not part of that complaint.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking a question and I explained that it
Yeah.
arises as part of my preparation and I do not know how, and I cannot even reconcile because the court order is a public document.
Yeah.
I don't need a complaint to ask this question.
Okay, so
Because
but you are saying,
what I'm saying is, I have 2 court orders here. This is what I pick up in the context of preparing, as I do for each and every candidate, this one and other candidates, because these are documents, and I'm asking.
yeah,
as
no,
part-
I understand
Yeah.
you.
But I don't know about the complaint. No one has given me
Yes,
the
no,
complaint.
that's
Yes.
fine, but Commissioner Malema said it is a complaint.
Oh, I don't
No,
know.
no,
Or
Chief
did I
Justice.
misunderstand you, Commissioner Malema?
No, but also your response is what gives me discomfort.
Yes.
And if this is how we're going to proceed, then we're going to have a big problem. We have asked a question. Commissioner Notyesi has asked a question. The candidate has said, well, let me look into this matter and then I'll come back. But the Chief Justice has already given an answer that I don't think a judge can sit intentionally in the matter. You have already answered the question for him. And I don't understand what is this, because you gave it to him. He said he needs to familiarize himself with the facts, and then you go beyond that to answer for him.
Well,
You don't think a judge can sit deliberately on a matter? Already the matter is being answered.
Well, Commissioner Malema, I thought I owed you a disclosure of what happened when I was approached, so that you all know. And I shared with you what my thinking was. That is what I was doing, nothing more than that. Justice Unterhalter, you would like to check the facts
Yes,
about this?
if I may, I would like to check. I know there have been a number of matters in which I was involved in the SCA where I've recused myself when those matters came up for applications for leave to appeal. I'll look at this instance and come back to you if I've done so in error. Of course, I will indicate my error and make appropriate apologies.
Yeah. In fact, Judge,
Yes.
in fact, Judge, like,
One
just
second.
let
Yes,
me
Commissioner Notyesi.
explain this, Judge. The question from me
Yes.
is by no means an intention to convey some other meaning or to catch you up. It's just a clarity on this matter,
No,
which I
absolutely.
would accept, including the clarity such as to say, well, I did not see whatever it is.
I will-
So I don't want this to create controversy.
No?
If, for me, your answer is, look, because I have these court orders, if you say I will check, if, well, I see, then I recall, and then that's it, we pass on. And I can assure you, take my word, it is not about catching you up, because all what I want to establish at the end of the day is how do you, for instance, between the SCA and the Concord, when you act there, how do you manage
Yes.
such issues?
Well, as I've indicated to you, I'm completely alive to the
Yes.
question.
Yes.
There are a number of cases where the record will reflect that I have recused myself precisely because I was involved in decision-making at the SCA level. And I will obviously look at what you have got there, and if I have fallen into error and made a mistake, I will acknowledge it.
Yes.
Okay, if you can let us have your response after checking
Of course.
at some stage tomorrow, that would be highly appreciated.
Of course.
Okay, all right.
So what is happening to me? I don't ask now. It's end of my question.
Sorry.
Because I was asking questions, I was stopped. I'm trying to clarify things, so it must
Commissioner
end here.
Notyesi. Sorry, Commissioner Notyesi. Justice Unterhalter has said he needs to check and then he will revert and let us know.
Because I have the order, so that I stop here, I don't ask questions. I leave, and then everybody asks. If it's read at the end or it's not read, it's fine. But I had some questions that I was to ask.
Yes, no. You remember you have been asking one question with other witnesses. I thought that was the only one.
It's
But you can ask, continue.
It's simply because
Chief Justice, maybe before he goes to the next question, it's Lamula.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I heard you saying if you could answer, if you could respond tomorrow. My challenge is that according to this, we're going to have deliberations. So how are we going to handle that?
Well, I don't think he's able to check before we, today. So I thought that we might have to postpone our deliberations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief Justice, as I understand this from the judge, and I understand, if we can leave to him, he can simply say, today I want to get other document. Or he can say, I'm in a position, because this is a court order, it shows who appeared in that court, who appeared, what is the matter.
Yes, okay. Justice Unterhalter, do you want to respond to that?
I don't want to hold up your proceedings at all. I simply need to get access to my computer, and when I do so, I'll check and see how this arises, and I will come back to you and as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Notyesi, is that fine?
I'm happy.
Thank
So
you.
I will stop my questions at this moment.
Okay,
because-
all right.
Because we cannot take it further.
Chief Justice,
Yes.
my difficulty with that is that the candidate would have finished his interview and then he says he will come back to us at a whatever convenient time. Does that mean he will have to come back? Because depending on the type of answer he's going to give, that answer may necessitate a follow-up, wanting to follow up on this question. So
Yes.
how are we going to deal with that? Because depending on how people answer questions,
Yeah.
that question may necessitate a follow-up. So how are we going to deal with that?
I think we should then ask him to come back tomorrow to give the answer in this forum, so that if his answer generates further questions, he can answer them. Would that be fine with you,
CJ?
Justice Unterhalter?
Certainly, I'm entirely at your
CJ?
disposal.
Yes, who?
Is Dodovu, Commissioner Dodovu.
Oh,
I want to
Commissioner
speak on
Dodo.
the same matter.
Yes.
I personally feel uncomfortable that we need to put this matter in abeyance because of a single question. My express view is that a candidate was asked a question. He's not certain about what transpired in that particular case. I think it's enough in the context of how we're moving forward, because here we are going to set a precedence that we have to call a candidate to come and clarify a particular matter here, something that has not happened in the past. My view is that when we consider the issue or the matter at hand and the candidate itself, we'll do that in the context of the information that is available at our disposal, and therefore express a view on how we must move forward. I think, in my view, that this that we have is sufficient, and we need to move forward along those lines. Thanks.
Thank you. To some extent, it depends whether Commissioner Notyesi, what he thinks about that, because he is the one who had the question, and there has not been a definite answer because the candidate must check. Do you want to say anything about that view, Mr. Notyesi?
Chair,
I want to.
Chair, it's such
Yes.
that, it's such that I do not know how to approach now. I knew exactly earlier on, because I think I was in agreement with the candidate on two things. One, that he cannot sit there deliberately when yourself, you indicated.
Please raise
But-
your voice a bit.
I was in agreement with the candidate. In fact, he answered when he says, Look, I could not, did I sit on these matters when I was in that court and come and sit on appeal. All what I think you wanted to check is this, so that he's able to say, oh, well, this happened, I made a mistake. I mean, this is what it is, because we know the principle that he cannot sit. If that is what happened, because it's just a question of court orders. But now, your view is that you need more time on this. To me, there's nothing, it's not in trial about this
Yeah.
matter. I'm not putting him on trial. I just wanted to clarify this, not only for this candidate, but for all of us, my education, other commissioners, and everybody listening outside there. So-
Well, if you say it's not a big issue for you
Yeah.
to warrant that he should come back tomorrow or furnish other information so that we finalize everything today in regard to the Concord. If you say that, I would have no problem going ahead.
No, to me, it's not a big issue.
Yes, okay. All right.
It
Is there anyone who feels that?
I'm here on virtual.
Oh, Commissioner Malema?
Well, that is my question as well. If Notyesi is retreating from it, I'm sponsoring it, because I don't know how the question of Advocate Baloyi arose, whether it was raised 7 days before or it was brought to the attention yesterday, and it was also processed, and we're able to get an answer today. This matter was also raised, and there was a space in between. It is special for me because it has got everything else to do with the ability to make judgment for the judge. And when the argument arises that no, you can't say that because he has answered the way he has answered, we are going to use this in deliberations. And I can't use the things that we have not raised or that he did not respond to on this platform. So whatever we're going to say in the deliberations based on this should be coming from him and not what we suspect he said or we assume he said this. So that's why we should get a definite answer. Because for me, there are two issues. Is Advocate Baloyi's issue, is this issue, and then it has got everything else now to do with the judgment of the candidate. That how do you go around making such mistakes? How do you come here and say you mentored Baloyi or you led Baloyi in a case and not being sure? And then you come and say, no, I made a mistake. Then on this matter, he comes and say, okay, I made a mistake. There are two matters where a candidate for a senior position has made an error of judgment. And I will be using that to argue in the deliberations. And someone can't just come here and say, no, leave it. You can't get an answer from him. Just use what you got. They are going to litigate and say, he never said what you are saying he said. Because I know for sure on this candidate, all the time there are NGOs that are readily available to attack us. And that's why we must be thorough and we must be clear and we must get definite answers. Unless they say they are not prepared to entertain it, then we can use that. But if he says I can entertain it, let me have an exposure to my laptop, it's going to help all of us that this is his answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Malema. Commissioners, this is the view I take of this matter at this stage. I'm not saying it's final, but let me say to you, we are here tomorrow. We are here for the rest of the week. I don't think there is anything problematic if we were to defer our deliberations. The candidate goes and checks what he needs to check. He comes in here tomorrow, and at some stage when it's convenient to us, we let him come in. It might be 10 minutes. He gives an answer. If there are no further questions, that's it. If there are follow-up questions, he deals with them. Then we know that we are done, because it's not I don't think it's right if there are members of the Commission who feel strongly that an answer on this question should be obtained. I think that's what I think we should do. Can everybody live with that?
Before we do that.
Oh, before,
Thanks.
let me, Commissioner Singh?
Yeah, thank you, Chief Justice. I don't know whether Justice Unterhalter has his laptop with him, but if he does have, I think it'll be very helpful to all of us. Perhaps if we adjourn for half an hour or so, and through you as the chair, the documents which Commissioner Notyesi has on hand be provided to him just to jog his memory, because we don't expect him to come with all the answers here. And then we adjourn for half an hour, and then we continue and finish our interview, and we can deal with deliberations perhaps tonight or tomorrow. So I don't know if that's a possible way out on this.
Maybe what we should do is let's exhaust other questions